Here you have these women who are on the front lines, and they are likely to get beaten at the very least, if not killed and imprisoned. And yet they're doing it anyway. And I can't help but think, you know, I feel inspired, and I can only draw strength from them, because it's harrowing to watch, hugely inspiring. But my goodness, I've never seen this kind of courage. I think the worry is that we've had uprisings in Iran once a decade, since 1999 in the student uprising in Iran, and 2009 with the Green Movement, and 2019 more recently. And every time they've been silenced, and the security forces have won. And this time, the thing that's unprecedented is that you're seeing people fight back against the security forces, women burning their headscarves, not just waving them, not just taking them off and waving them. And you're seeing a direct message to the authorities that they don't want the Islamic Republic anymore. They're fighting with all they have. The problem is that we need to stand by them. We need to make sure they have internet access. We need to make sure that they're not shut off from the world, so that these deaths and these murders that happen with impunity in Iran. So we owe it to them, I think, not only to be their voices, but to ensure there are mechanisms in place to hold the Iranian authorities to account. That needs to happen at the UN level. It needs to happen at heads of states. Every country, every member state of the UN needs to actively work towards creating this international mechanism for accountability in Iran.
As you know, there has been indications in the past that the DPRK is preparing a test site for what would be its 7th nuclear test. If they do such a test, from our perspective, it would clearly constitute a grave escalatory action and seriously threaten regional and international security and stability. Regardless, we continue to work with our Republic of Korea and Japanese partners for all contingencies, and again, would call on the DPRK to cease these type of destabilizing and unlawful actions. The United States condemns these actions and calls on the DPRK to refrain from further unlawful and destabilizing acts. In response to the DPRK's ballistic missile launch over Japan, U.S. Marine Corps fighters joined Japan Air Self-Defense Force fighters in a bilateral exercise over the Sea of Japan on October 4th, Japan time. In addition, U.S. Indo-Pacific Command and Republic of Korea personnel conducted a bilateral exercise over the West Sea on October 4th, Korean time. These engagements were taken to showcase combined deterrent and dynamic strike capabilities, while demonstrating the interoperability our nations share. These exercises are an opportunity for our military members to work together to exercise those capabilities, to one, send a message that we are prepared, and two, that if we need to fight, we can, and we can do it together.
Former President Donald Trump asked the U.S. Supreme Court to intervene in his fight with the Justice Department over classified documents seized from his Florida home as part of a criminal investigation into his handling of government records. Trump on Tuesday filed an emergency request asking the justices to block part of a lower court's ruling that prevented a special master from vetting more than 100 documents marked as classified that were among 11,000 records seized by FBI agents in August. In Tuesday's filing, Trump's lawyers said the special master, also known as an independent arbiter, should have access to, quote, determine whether documents bearing classification markings are in fact classified, and regardless of classification, whether those records are personal records or presidential records. The court-approved Mar-a-Lago search was conducted as part of a federal investigation into whether Trump illegally retained documents from the White House when he left office in January 2021, and whether Trump tried to obstruct the probe. Investigators want to know who accessed classified materials marked confidential, secret, or top secret, whether they were compromised, and if any remain unaccounted for. In Tuesday's filing, Trump's attorneys said he had broad authority governing classification of and access to classified documents. The 3 statutes underpinning the search warrant used by the FBI at Mar-a-Lago make it a crime to mishandle government records, regardless of their classification status.
The hot U.S. labor market appears to be cooling down. Job openings fell sharply in August, the biggest drop in nearly 2.5 years, suggesting that the labor market was starting to sag as the economy grapples with higher interest rates aimed at dampening demand and taming inflation. Job openings dropped by 1.1 million to 10.1 million, the largest decline since April 2020, when the economy was reeling from the health crisis. The sharp decrease was led by healthcare and social assistance, followed by the retail industry. Still, vacancies are high. With over 10 million available positions, there are about 1.7 job openings for every unemployed person in August, and layoffs remain low. Taken all together, it's all a sign of a still tight labor market, which will likely keep the Federal Reserve on its aggressive monetary policy tightening path. The U.S. Central Bank has hiked its policy rate from near zero in March to its current range of 3% to 3.25%. They have signaled more large increases were on the horizon. As one analyst told Reuters, quote, "The heat of the labor market is slowly coming down to a slow boil. But," he added, "this is still very much a job seeker's labor market."
We invented the chip in America, and once again, we are going to make them here, right here, in upstate New York and in America.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer on Tuesday cheered a decision by Micron Technology to invest up to $100 billion over the next 20-plus years to build a computer chip factory complex in upstate New York. The project, which Micron claims will be the world's largest semiconductor facility, is expected to create nearly 50,000 jobs in the state. The senator from New York said it was the biggest private sector investment in the state's history.
Now, if there's a word to describe today, it's transformational. Transformational for upstate New York, transformational for America.
U.S. President Joe Biden also praised Micron's decision, calling it another win for America, after signing the CHIPS and Science Act into law in August. The act, which aims to revitalize chip manufacturing in the U.S. and boost competitiveness with China, provides more than $52 billion in subsidies for U.S. semiconductor production and research. Micron Technology CEO Sanjay Mehrotra.
Memory and storage represent 30% of the semiconductor industry, the global semiconductor industry revenue. And we expect the memory market to double by the end of this decade, requiring even more manufacturing capacity.
Shares of Micron rose as much as nearly 6% on Tuesday, amid broader gains.